There's another author, by the way, who's in high demand in Hollywood, maybe not to the tune of $9 million, but his books do attract the hippest directors in town, and he doesn't even own a computer. CNN's Elvis Mitchell now on the story of Elmore Leonard.
If you love John Travolta's smooth Chili Palmer in Get Shorty,
gee, I don't know how I could have missed you in that shirt,
and George Clooney's suave bank robber in Out of Sight,
It's your first time being around? You're doing great.
then you've got a taste of crime writer Elmore Leonard's comic but deadly underworld.
Get out of the car, sir.
Since the 1950s, 30 of his 35 short stories and novels have been turned into films. Word on the street is, no one creates hipper characters than Leonard.
I'll make you a deal. If you can get out of here before I take my coat off, I won't clean up the floor with you and mess up your pretty little costume.
But America's coolest crime writer may surprise you. He's not a young gun in a black turtleneck. He's a 72-year-old grandfather in tennis shorts. He doesn't live in Beverly Hills or Manhattan. He remains comfortably ensconced in suburban Detroit.
Why are you still in Detroit?
I've lived here since 1934. You know, I live here. It's that simple. A tax accountant, yeah, look.
As we drove around the abandoned and dilapidated center of Detroit, Elmore treated me to a reading from his 1978 book, The Switch.
Woodward Avenue didn't look any different to Lewis. The same bars, the same storefronts with grill work over the show windows, a few more boarded up. It was a strange, deserted big city downtown with everybody staying out in their neighborhoods.
Leonard spent his formative years in downtown Detroit. Although he traded in the concrete jungle for tree-lined suburbs years ago, it is the images of the inner city that take center stage in his work.
So I went to the fights there one night and decided it would be a good scene for Out of Sight.
So how does this simple suburban man, who still writes his books by longhand, create such a bloody, hip, and colorful world?
I don't start with a plot. I don't outline at all. Plotting to me is the most boring thing in the world. I want to get the characters on stage and then see where they take me.
Leonard has been writing great characters for over 30 years, yet Hollywood has only recently figured out how to translate his sharp dialogue to the big screen. Get Shorty planted Leonard in the center of popular culture. Director Barry Sonnenfeld's secret to translating Leonard's books to film was to rely on Leonard's own words.
He creates a scene, a situation, and then lets the characters say really dumb things with a totally straight face, not knowing they're dumb.
And you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Oddly enough, the first real translation of Leonard's work was not an actual adaptation of one of his novels. It was an homage to Leonard's style in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
You should have shotguns with this kind of deal.
His characters had a big influence on me because they talked about movies, which I've always noticed that people do. People talk about pop culture.
Well, the way they pick TV shows is they make one show. That show's called a pilot. Then they show that one show to the people who pick shows. And on the strength of that one show, they decide if they want to make more shows.
Your first look is which way?
Tarantino owns the rights to 5 Leonard novels and plans to direct or star in all of them. His last film, Jackie Brown, was based on Leonard's book, Rum Punch.
Quentin says that he was influenced by my work. When he was a teenager, he read The Switch.
It's interesting because The Switch is like the first book that deals with Ordell and Lewis and Melanie, which were the characters that Sam Jackson, De Niro, and Bridget Fonda played in Jackie Brown.
You know, you smoke too much of that. It's gonna rob you of your ambition.
Not if your ambition is to get high and watch TV.
One of the biggest things that I actually took from Elmore Leonard is he comes up with these great genre stories. They all have that kind of like, schemers trying to come up with stuff.
Now look, all you got to do is lay in here and hold on to this mother, all right? I'm gonna tell him I'm going in the trunk to show him the goods. When I open the trunk, you pop up, rack this mother.
One of the things that Tarantino gets from your books that I think really interesting is that guys who have a real taste for violence, almost a Baroque taste for violence, and love it.
All right, here's the antagonist. He robs banks or whatever he does, but he doesn't do it all the time. You could take him for a normal person when he's off stage.
Most Leonard devotees claim that the best translation of a Leonard novel to date is Out of Sight, with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez, directed by Steven Soderbergh.
I was drawn to the characters, absolutely, and I was drawn to his non-reductive view of characters, and the fact that people were not self-reflective. Nobody talked about how they grew up or their past or anything like that. They just acted.
Hey, Jack Foley, famous bank robber.
Snoopy Miller, famous fight thrower.
The mysterious world of outlaw culture intrigued Elmore Leonard, even as a little boy.
That picture was taken in Memphis in 1934. I'm aiming a cap pistol at the camera. It was taken within months of Bonnie and Clyde's death. That must have impressed me, because that's what I'm using now.
But it took Leonard a while to get to that point. Before he could write about blood and wits, he cranked out a copy on cars and trucks for a Detroit advertising agency. What he really wanted to do was write fiction. His first work hit the screen in 1957 from a 4,500-word story he wrote for the magazine Dime Western called 310 to Yuma.
There's a legend and there's a rumor when you take the 310 to Yuma.
He went on to write half a dozen other westerns without ever bothering to leave Detroit.
I subscribed to Arizona Highways for visual help, and the magazine was loaded with four-color illustrations of canyons and mountains and trails.
By the early 1960s, when it was clear that westerns had run their course, Leonard turned to writing crime novels and had an immediate feel for bleak urban humor. A mere 20 years later, he became an overnight success. In 1985, he was on the cover of Newsweek. A few years later, he reached an oddly symbolic level of his career. He became a category on Jeopardy!
Have Elmer Leonard for $200, please.
But for Leonard, the true test of a successful crime writer is fan mail from people in places like this.
I'm currently incarcerated in the middle of the Mojave High Desert, dreary and boring. How I ended up here is a long, unbelievable tale involving dysfunctional women, heroin, and pure foolishness.
Leonard's understanding of the criminal mind has made a connection with inmates, many of whom are curious to find out why he knows them so well. The answer? Research.
With every book, there's the person that I can call directly, whether it's a probation officer or a cop in New Orleans.
His latest book, Be Cool, is a sequel to Get Shorty. This time, Chili Palmer finds himself knee-deep in the sleaziest, deadliest scene yet, the record business.
I spent a couple hours with a record promoter and just making notes as fast as I could.
In Be Cool, Chili Palmer manages a rock group that Leonard based on a real-life band called the Stone Coyotes.
It's rock and roll with a twang.
Think of AC/DC meets Patsy Cline. A critic said that about
Leonard is promoting Be Cool by doing readings with the band.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
No one could argue that this septuagenarian author from Detroit is himself cool.
All these cars are on this hotel, too.
So cool, in fact, that he doesn't have to look the part, because cool is a state of mind.
How many more books do you think you got left in you?
A few, anyway, I would say. Sure, why not? It's the most satisfying thing I can think of doing, yeah, writing a book.
The director of Get Shorty, Barry Sonnenfeld, wants to do the sequel, Be Cool, but will John Travolta sign up to play Chili Palmer again? Well, when asked, Elmore Leonard said, "I think he'd be nuts if he doesn't."